Today, I have the great pleasure to interview and learn a bunch of wisdom. I know I'm going to from Aaron Fitzgerald from Mars Materials. How you doing, Aaron?
Hi, Warren. Thank you for having me. Really nice to meet you and to connect with your audience today.
Well, it's going to be super fun. So first question I have to ask you is Mars Materials. I read up on some of your stuff, but please, I would love to have you share. This is a pretty heady venture you got yourself into, and I like Mars. I like the idea of Mars Materials. So please tell me more.
Yeah, well, hopefully I can bring it down to earth a little bit. We are Mars Materials. We are based here in Houston, Texas, and we are working to turn everyday products into carbon sinks. And I'll get into that a bit more. We're currently a venture capital backed and Bill Gates's Breakthrough Energy Fellows backed startup. We are a team of 8. We call our team members Planeteers. And we are commercializing technology that you can see behind me that was developed by the National Renewable Energy Laboratory, or NREL, which is one of our nation's national labs, the only applied national lab, which means that they bring science. Their goal is to scale up foundational science and with the goal of having it be brought to the market. And they initially created a chemical reaction that enables us to make a chemical monomer called acrylonitrile. And we're able to synthesize that monomer carbon negative using inputs like captured CO2. It's a drop-in replacement, really meant to replace the over 6 million metric tons of acrylonitrile that is derived from fossil fuels today.
Wow. Okay, so that's a lot. So for the common man like me, you're gonna lower greenhouse emissions and you're gonna make carbon fiber. Is that right?
So acrylonitrile is used in a variety of fast-growing products. So it's a key building block from really our modern lives. Everything from clothing to keyboard keys to carpets and car parts like dashboards, all the way to sporting goods. And those are very fast growing markets, right? We all have a need for it and we're all familiar with those. But there are also some kind of unseen markets that you don't fully think about. And 2 acrylonitrile derivative markets I think about a lot are one called acrylamide for a product category called flocculants, and then also carbon fiber. So carbon fiber has one raw material and it's acrylonitrile. You bind the acrylonitrile, becomes this liquid, then becomes a solid, and you bake it at very high temperatures, and you get carbon fiber. And it's with carbon fiber that we see a lot of potential to help decarbonize heavy industry, replacing steel or aluminum and other hard to decarbonize metals with carbon fiber.
Wow, so cool. Yeah, it's lighter and stronger, or just as strong.
Yeah, so carbon fiber has a lot of properties that give it a lot of performance advantages. So it is a lighter material than steel, so you need less of it. It is stronger than steel, even using less of it. It can be not necessarily a drop-in replacement, but you can use it as a replacement for steel or for aluminum. In our particular case, and maybe ground this a bit more back to earth, as I was saying, our transmission infrastructure, line infrastructure, even just here in Texas, is really reaching its capacity as we're bringing on new data centers, for example, and even new manufacturing centers. We need more energy. It's anticipated, I think we are going to need 3 times more energy in the next 20 years. And there's different levers you can use. You can add more generation to the grid, but also a big bottleneck is our transmission line infrastructure. With carbon fiber, you can replace the steel and the reinforced conductors in transmission lines with carbon fiber, and that increases the the line capacity itself and reduces the loss of that energy. So there's a lot of performance advantages of switching to that material.
Oh, that's amazing. I never thought about it for that application. That's super cool. And
Yeah, we think
and
so.
everybody's going to need more power. That's obvious, right?
Yeah. And I mean, as we are looking to hit our decarbonization goals, a lot of that's reliant on electrification. As we're looking to just continue advancing in modernity, AI is a huge energy consumer. There's just the demand is there, and now we need to figure out how to actually meet that with supply.
That's amazing. Okay, so tell me now, you're the CEO and co-founder.
Yes.
How'd you start this?
Yeah. So that's a long story, but I'll try to make it short for your audience. Rewinding back to just the start of my career, after college, I worked in the US Senate and really recognized it was not the right change agent for me. You learn a lot, though, about how our systems are structured and set up and where the greatest need is. In college, I was always really focused on personal climate action. And a lot of that got started when I did an alternate spring break trip to New Orleans with my alma mater, Rhodes College. And we helped with some rebuild efforts there a year after the hurricane. It was very inspiring. I was inspired to really see the folks, affected by the hurricane, even still affected by the hurricane a year later, with optimism. But it also gave me the first kind of experience of first-hand witnessing of the devastating impact of climate change, and something that I had grown up, learning about and thinking about, but never actually seeing head on. So after the Senate, I then became a startup founder. Started one company, it didn't work out, and the second companies, and I started two companies there in software. Learned a lot, learned how to do things like enterprise sales, build a team, really kind of be that leader that I've always seen for myself. And then I took those skills and applied them to a company that was looking to go to market. The founders had created a remote sensing instrument that we could attach to low-flying aircrafts, and we surveyed oil and gas fields for super emitting methane gas leaks. We detected methane frequently, and more frequently than what the studies were in the data were kind of indicating. And these are some of the largest leaks. So over that period of 17 months working there, every day I would leave home thinking, how can I do more to stop extraction? And it just slowly started coming to me. If you want to stop extraction, you need to find a new carbon source. And where is there abundant amounts of carbon? In the air. So that's really where the initial genesis of Mars came from.
Wow, that's amazing. So are you telling me that the Senate isn't the best place to get things changed?
I think the U.S. is one of the greatest countries to enact change. The Senate is specifically designed to slow down, I think, expedite it in change. So it is designed to facilitate the private market to be that agent, and we're able to do that here at Mars.
I love that. You said that very politically correct, by the way. That was really good. See now, probably said it a little different, but yeah, you're right. I mean, let's face it, the three branches of government are somewhat to balance power. So that's reality. And I love your passion for really wanting to affect the world in a positive way. And so this sort of outside the box thinking as I guess a serial entrepreneur now, right? I mean, this is your third company.
Yeah, this is my third company. I never intended to be a serial entrepreneur. And in fact, I think after the second company, I was really resigned that I was done with entrepreneurship. It's a long and hard journey, as we both know. But for me, when I was looking to do more and really thinking about, okay, how can I focus on industrial decarbonization and carbon drawdown? And I looked and assessed the market. I looked for companies that I could join. There weren't any really solving the problem in the way that I thought needed to be addressed. And I saw some gaps there. So what do entrepreneurs do? You do discovery. You ask a bunch of questions, why? And then I feel like eventually I stumbled into an opportunity in a business. And now we're a team of 8, and it's super exciting.
That's amazing. Do you when you were looking at this idea, where does it come, the jumping off point? I love that you mentioned asking questions and asking lots of questions and checking the market. When does it jump off into, yeah, this is I'm going to go do this and get funded and change the world? Like when does that happen? One night after a glass of wine, or like let's
I think it happens once you recognize that, like, I I think I stumbled on a problem that, if solved, will have, tremendous impact on the planet, and specifically like literally the atmospheric chemistry of the planet, which is very exciting. And then for me, I just saw I had done a lot of discovery, and at the time was working on a different kind of set of problems for Mars, but similarly carbon drawdown, and a different technology and a different focus. But we got some indicators that the not only was there an environmental problem that we could solve, but there was also a market problem that we could solve in kind of a double whammy, right? So for me, that was what I needed to have that conviction to say, you know what, I think I can do this. I know, as a entrepreneur and a company builder, where my bounds and capabilities are, and I will build a company around that to address the problems that we're trying to solve, and help to get where we need to be.
That's brilliant. I love that you said the market side. Idea is one thing. Solving a market problem and having market demand is sometimes quite another thing.
Right.
Any more advice around that? I like that.
Yeah, I always tell anyone starting out, even folks who are, repeat founders, because we get a little rusty after a while. If you take a break, it's so important to just understand the problem that you're solving, the different aspects of the problems that you're solving, and then what that outcome will look like, and then figure out, like, in between that is where that value creation is. It's going to sound trite, but just a lot of customer discovery, right? And customer discovery, I think, is a very specific term, but I would say like market and ecosystem discovery, right? So, like, I know that I want to focus on carbon drawdown and industrial decarbonization. So I need to really find the people who have thought about both of those sectors, and also have taken the risk in the past, because we might be doing something first of a kind, but there have been others who have paved the way for us to be able to move forward. And that's kind of the approach that I take.
That's great. So how do you keep your attitude positive when it's not going so great?
Well, I'm not sure that you can be a negative Nancy as an entrepreneur. And when you're trying to, your whole job is to recruit as many resources as you can. And no one wants to be part of of a, uh, a ship that's, always under turbulence, even though you're building a ship that's always under turbulence. And I think, part of that for me is being passionate about the problem that we're solving. We have this double bottom line where if we're successful, and really when we're successful, we'll be able to, do financially well and enable a healthy climate future. So that's very exciting, right? And then the more momentum you get, and the more support you're able to get, like your team, I think that helps to drive that optimism forward too, right? Because it can be a lonely island, again, to kind of start from zero, but then eventually there just gets to be a critical mass, like the idea, the organization, the execution becomes bigger than you, and that's exciting to experience that, to feel it. It makes you grow as a person.
That's amazing. The whole idea of the snowball keeps getting bigger and pretty soon starts rolling on its own. Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah. And we're getting there. We've been around for about 5 years now, and our team is so specialized in their various areas that we've had to make it so that folks can work independently but also collectively.
That's great. How do you decide when you're going to make that first hire and the second hire? Because I meet with a lot of businesses, and that's the critical jumping off point. How do you make that call?
Yeah, so I think for me it goes back to what are our goals. Every year we set up our kind of, where do we want to be at the end of the year. And we look at, how do we resource ourselves to get there? And I'm not a chemical engineer. I'm an expert in carbon removal, but the plant you see behind me is our team works on. So we knew what we needed to do when we were. For me, I needed to bring on our first co-founder, who's now our CTO, Christian Gupch, and he's a chemical engineer. I knew that in order for this company to be successful, I needed someone who had an understanding of, of how to design and operate a plant, and also had the passion, aligned passion that would enable us to be successful.
Yeah, so I like that you're talking not only about job skills, but about passion. I saw it on your website too. As you're hiring, you're putting that out right up front. If you're passionate about this cause and you love the climate and you wanna help the world, we want you on our team. Which
Yeah.
also says, if you're not passionate about this, we don't want you on our team. Would that be correct?
So we take a very broad philosophy for hiring. We want everyone from the new college grad to the single parent to the grandparents. And in some capacity, be it full-time or part-time, we have all those groups and constituencies represented at Mars, which is really important. And what underlines, the various permutations of people across those different lives is mutual respect for each other, and then that common passion to want to solve or be a part of solving climate change and taking climate action. We are doing something that is just tremendously hard, and I think if you think about like the capital intensity that our business requires, what it looks like to scale up companies like ours, you don't just do this because it's fun. I think you have to have something else to get you through, plugging issues or commissioning issues, right? And for us, it's our mission. It's how we all center ourselves. It's when the going gets tough, we can remind ourselves that we're doing something that's going to have tremendous impact, in addition to making us, hopefully, some of the folks who can also eventually fund other companies in the future.
That's beautiful. Yeah, it's not just about the cause. It is about the cause a lot, but also the fact that you can actually impact the world in other areas once this thing really gets to its critical mass. Yes.
Right. Yes, exactly, and that's what we're building up for. And it's never a dull day, but it's always an exciting day to look at our progress and celebrate that, and then figure out how to solve the next set of problems in front of us.
I also love that you said celebrate when you get a win, and celebrate progress along the way to the win. That's super brilliant, and I've done it before where I get so focused on, oh, we got that, let's get to the next thing. Can you talk a little bit more about that? I think that's a great point.
I will say, it's easier said than done. I don't always celebrate every win, and it's something that I personally am working on. I think, when you're always your job is to find resources, it always feels like you're coming from a place of scarcity. But I think you also have to recognize once you start getting those resources in, even if it's one person, one additional person, there's an abundance now, right? You're no longer as constrained as you were yesterday. So that's where that kind of focus and area comes from my perspective.
That's good. Okay, so what are your biggest challenges right now to get to the next level?
Yeah, so a little bit about what we're working on. So I mentioned acrylonitrile is one of the key ingredients, main ingredient for carbon fiber and other applications. So that other application is acrylamide, and that's the market that we're scaling up in. So this is a really interesting market, and most people have never heard of this compound, and I'm sure you've never heard of acrylonitrile either. But just a quick overview here. So acrylamide is another market where acrylonitrile is the sole raw material. And acrylamide is used for water treatment chemicals. It's used in paper pulp manufacturing, and it's used in drilling services. People don't realize that the water that we drink is purified using fossil fuels. People don't realize that the paper that we write on is bound together using fossil fuels. And then they don't realize that some of the materials that we extract from the ground, be it precious metals and minerals to even more crude oil, is extracted with fossil fuels. So we want to break that. And if our vision plays out, there will be no difference to you and I as a consumer, but you will be making choices that are more carbon advantaged because we have had success upstream in the supply chain. So there are a few global manufacturers who make this acrylamide molecule, and we're working with all of them to complete their supplier validation process so that we're able to secure full offtake for our upcoming commercial demonstration plant. So behind me here is our pilot plant, and this can produce about 1 kilogram per day of our acrylonitrile. Our demonstration plant will take up multiple rooms and be quite larger than this facility that you see behind me. And it will be capable of producing, tons per day of material. And we intend to deliver that to those acrylamide manufacturers.
Wow. And that's all coming out of the air.
The goal is to make all of that come out of the air. So captured CO2, water, renewable electricity, and low carbon ammonia.
Wonderful.
Those are the kind of major inputs for us. Yeah.
Okay, then so once you get that all scaled up, then what's the next hurdle?
So we'll have our first commercial plant, rolling in dough at a seed Series A stage company, and we'll be looking to move forward with our next full commercial plant. And that's really where we begin to be head-on competitors with the incumbent players who are also looking to scale up in this new low-carbon acrylonitrile market. There we intend to build a plant capable of producing about 50 kilotons per year, or 50,000 tons of our acrylonitrile. So if you're doing the math, that's about 130,000 tons per day of material. And just given the volumes that the acrylamide customers are used to using, we anticipate that will probably be one plant dedicated to one buyer of our material.
Wow, that's crazy. So that's when do you go from investment and getting money to cash flow positive? And has that been a conversation with investors? Because I'm guessing it has. Because I watch Shark Tank, so, it's exactly the same.
The investors are that we've been able to attract, and the funders that we've been able to attract are some of the top climate funders in the world. We work with funders such as Breakthrough Energy Fellows, which help funded the design, fabrication, commissioning, and the experimental plans that we have with our piloting program behind us. We've also received non-dilutive funds from folks like Caltech Rocket Fund and New York State Energy Research Development Authority, NYSERDA, and Columbia to enable us to also move forward on our experimental plans. And what these non-dilutive monies want is to fund our technology to get it to scale. And then on the investor side, what they want is to see our technology used in the market. It's always a fine line to toe on, particularly when you're a high CapEx business and it takes a while to get to market, really talking about the work that you're doing, the progress that you're doing to de-risk that market risk. And that's what we've had a lot of success doing, particularly cornering this acrylamide market and really painting the path for us to move into carbon fiber.
Great. Okay, 2 more questions if I could. Are you good?
Please. Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
What's the biggest kind of takeaway, challenge you've solved, learning you can give? And you've given me a bunch already, but like from your time as time from start of entrepreneurship till now, what's something that everybody could be, wow, I appreciate that wisdom.
Yeah. Let me see. I think a lot of quotes come to mind, but I think they all are very similar to what my mom used to teach me growing up, which is, learning is lifelong, and nothing hurts failure but a try. And really, what that means is, you have to be comfortable with failure and taking a shot. And if it doesn't work out, you've learned something. You may have learned how something doesn't work, or you may learn why something doesn't work or how it works now, right? But in that uncomfortable zone is where you can find a way to move forward.
That's brilliant. And if you can put that in your business and have that be your culture within reason, like fail forward, exactly. Then you've got people that will innovate and will take risks if you handle that the right way.
And you don't want your team to be afraid to fail, right? And I mean, that is what a startup is. When you're raising money from investors, from other funding sources, you have your goals and your timelines, and you need to hit those. And there is a stress there, but you've got to be okay with that journey and those learnings. And there's so many exciting innovations that have come from those kind of friction points.
That's great. Yeah, the value is there. Okay, last question. Work-life balance. Is it a balance, and especially in a startup? How do you do
that? So I think as part of the Breakthrough Energy Fellows program, which we graduated out of in early October, after 2 years, we were in cohort 2. Our welcome week about 2 years ago, they invited the Siemens, I think, USA CEO to talk, and this question was brought up. And I'm bringing this up because it really reframed perhaps how I think about it. And she didn't call it a work-life balance; she called it a work-life blend. How do we make those two integrated? So for us, what we've done at Mars is really thinking about what work requires like synchronicity. So, two people collaborating together, and what work can you do asynchronous and your most productive time. And everything else that we do is really it really revolves around trying to solve that to make people the most effective, efficient folks that they can in those different scenarios. So, example, we have a piloting lab that you can see behind me. That is asynchronous all the time, right? There's safety things that we need to comply with. There are, there's experiments that it takes multiple engineers to do. But there's some work products like, a pitch deck that you can probably do a draft by yourself. And then the big piece here is in solving that with consensus. So then making sure that we have alignment internally with what we're communicating about Mars and what we're communicating internally, so that everyone is on the same page.
Yeah, that's brilliant. So much of the work doesn't have to be done, I just call it linear versus digital. But
I like that, yeah.
That's old school language, but you can do it. You can do it in digital time where you're not asynchronous, I think is a better word, a description of that. Why we don't have to be in the same room all the time, but when we are in the same room, we're going to squeeze as much value as we can out of that time.
Yeah. So that's our approach. We're still a small company, and we're trying to figure out now, how do you scale that? How do you scale that from 8 to 20 to 50 to 100, and then hopefully thousands. I don't think we have all the answers today, but those are fun problems to solve.
Those are fun problems to solve. I've thoroughly enjoyed our time together, Aaron. I'm just thankful to be able to hang with you, and thankfully you're doing great things for our world, and just wish you tons and tons of, and maybe even kilotons of success.
Well, thank you so much. And, I think for us, that success is only possible because of our exciting and tremendous team. So we have a small team, but it's mighty, and we are growing. So we are hiring for some process operators based in the Houston area. And if that is work that you're interested in, or you have the capacity and the experience to do, please go to our website, marsmaterials.tech.
Yeah, let's get you some good people, more good people.
Yes.
Join a great team.
Exactly.
Thanks so much,
Thank
Aaron. I
you.
appreciate you.
Thank you.